Appamada's programs and facilities are supported through your generosity. Your support really does make a huge difference. You'll find a link for contributions on the website at appamada.org/contribute. Thank you so much.
So good morning, everyone. This is our last morning together. It's been a delight, but it'll be kind of nice to rest after this long intensive. So as usual, I'd like to start with just a little check-in. Does anybody have anything they want to share or have that may have come up since last evening? Rosemarie.
Hi. Yeah, I was thinking about what Kim said yesterday about being really busy and how one might apply the shifting during those times. And I had a situation yesterday with my business where there was a real snafu, and I had to really gear up to fix it and get it done. And during it, I would say shifting didn't come into mind, but afterwards it did. And it was very helpful because the revving up to fix the problem goes right into my body, and I'm very functional and I get it done. But afterwards, when I did the shifting, it just it put the little problem, it wasn't even a big one, into perspective. And there was a lot more relaxation in seeing the broadness of the whole situation beyond this little piece of it. And what I was thinking of was, wouldn't it be great to kind of adapt this shifting during those times so it gets somehow integrated, because I'm sure many of us know when we have to gear up to focus like that. So anyway, that was my thought. It was really, really helpful after. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Rosemary. I think it's really important. Yeah, because that's when we start maybe thinking about it a little bit afterward, but then over time, as we remember to do it, we can do it a little bit sooner, and it can have a big impact in how we relate. You start relating from shifting instead of something else, and you can still function, still get what you need to get done, but you're coming from a more spacious place. So that's great. That's wonderful. I'm glad that happened for you. Kim.
So my plan last night was not to do any shifting, but instead just to do the roll. And then when we did the exercise about the gut, I imagined it to be about a 10-inch homogeneous kind of mass with a very firm edge. Mm-hmm. And then I was so proud of myself because I shifted and it became 14 inches. Still was a hard edge. And as I sat this morning, I realized that vow not to do shifting was like a rationalization, because I didn't really want to let loose and kind of confront any freedom. Then this morning, after I took a shower, I looked in the mirror and I looked okay in a way that I've never seen myself look okay again. And then driving, I know we were talking about whether you can drive and shift, but driving, I realized that the whole shifting thing, the whole acceptance has to do with, once you shift out of this firm boundary, then all of a sudden acceptance. And then as I thought about the Shin Chin Ming this morning, it seemed like that's what the whole thing was about, is dissolving this outer edge. And that was really neat to do that. And then I was able to go back to the gut and dissolve that edge and see more of the intricacies inside that thing rather than just a homogeneous kind of beige thing. So anyway, it was not trying, it really worked out.
Thank you, Kim. Okay, anyone else? Okay, I got up early this morning and started making some notes and writing my talk for this afternoon and working on this one a little bit. And I'll be darned if I didn't leave it at home. But I'm convinced it'll be just fine. So we'll see. We'll all shift together and it will be so. Okay, so hold on one second. Okay, so now what we're going to do is this another glimpse, and it's going to be this shift into freedom. So it's going to be a series of shifts. All of this, there's an introduction to it, but I don't need to go over it with you because we've actually already done this through the senses, but it's structured a little bit differently. So, and I like the way this is structured because we're going to have stopping points along the way where you can just be with certain, I don't want to talk about this too much because then people will start thinking again. and that's not what we want to do. So, but it's different levels of mind and then, where you are. So we're going to be starting from ordinary mind and just really understanding what that feels like, and then going to kind of a next level where it's the subtle body and you're still kind of in the ego identification. So we're just going to be more deliberate about each different step. So, okay, here we go. So I would say, let's just kind of do our shift together, and then I'll go through this. Okay. So, as always, we're comfortable in our seats, and you're looking, but not really looking. Just have a soft gaze, like in meditation. And we're going to be actually, we're not going to be unhooking from the mind to start with. So. Your eyes can be open or closed, and we're just simply being aware of our senses, all of our senses. Hear what you hear. Just notice. See what you see. And notice the activity of thinking in your head at this point. Now we're going to unhook our local awareness from thinking, just as we had before. And we're going to let it drop down below our neck, through the neck, and into the upper body. We have awareness in our upper body. And we're going to feel the local awareness, knowing sensation, and awareness directly from within your body. So your awareness is knowing sensation and awareness directly from within your body. We're going to stay with this for just a little bit. With this awareness, knowing the aliveness and awareness directly within your upper body. Don't go back up to thought or down to sleep. Now let local awareness open to the space outside your body. Simply be aware of space. Let awareness mingle with space. Be aware of open space and then notice that open space is aware. Be aware of open space and then notice that open space is aware. Feel the awareness aware of itself as a boundless, contentless, changeless field of spacious awareness. We'll stay here for a few moments. So feel the awareness, aware of itself as a boundless, contentless, changeless field of spacious awareness. Now shift from being aware of spacious awareness to see from spacious awareness. Shift from being aware of spacious awareness to see from spacious awareness. Ask yourself, am I noticing spacious awareness, or is spacious awareness aware of the thoughts, feelings, and sensations that I formerly took to be me? Am I noticing spacious awareness, or is spacious awareness aware of the thoughts, feelings, and sensations that I formerly took to be me? Notice that the spacious awareness outside is the same as the awareness and aliveness within your body. Notice that the spacious awareness outside is the same as the awareness and aliveness within your body. The field of awareness is spacious and pervasive. Feel how the formless, spacious awareness includes all appearances and aliveness within as one continuous ocean of awareness with waves of experience arising. Feel how the formless, spacious awareness includes all appearances and aliveness within as one continuous ocean of awareness with waves of experience arising. Notice how you can be simultaneously aware outside and within. Let local awareness search the contents of the body and mind for the location of a witnessing self. When no self can be found, Notice the awareness that's knowing from everywhere, nowhere, and here. Let local awareness search the contents of the body and mind for the location of a witnessing self. When no self can be found, notice the awareness that's knowing from everywhere, nowhere, and here. Rather than going back up to thought for words, wait and feel the potential to know from open-hearted awareness. Inquire, what does open-hearted awareness know? Rather than going back up to thought for words, wait and feel the potential to know from open-hearted awareness. Inquire, what does open-hearted awareness know? Feel the boundless, embodied, alert, and interconnected sense of knowing, safety, and well-being. Feel the boundless, embodied, alert, and interconnected sense of knowing, safety, and well-being. Ask yourself, inquire, what is here now if there is no problem to solve? Rather than going back to thought to know the answer, allow open-hearted awareness to know. What is here now if there is no problem to solve? Remain undistracted without effort. Let be. Just let be. Okay, now you may slowly open your eyes if they're closed, or look around the room for a moment. Feel your body. I'd like to know how that was for people. Nelda?
First, I want to say thank you. I have never in my life been in this place. And by this place, I mean absolutely no fear, no trace of fear, no sense of fear, no unconscious feeling of fear that I can tell. So thank you. I don't remember where in your beautifully talking us through the steps, you used words, because there were no, I wasn't hearing words, but I was being directed, right? I was hearing words and not hearing words. It was not two. And you said something like letting our awareness and awareness, the awareness, be aware of, essentially, I'm going to paraphrase, the union of both our body, our sensations and all. And right in the middle of that energetically, all the trees were saying, and us too. And all the rocks, all the stones outside, we have beautiful stones, and some beautiful in a different way outside of Appamada. Walking stones and the rounded stones and the little pebbles were energetically saying us too. Everything was saying us too. And that was lovely. Because all of it, it's not just my awareness and greater awareness. It's every tangible and intangible, sentient and non-sentient object awareness was tangible and palpable. So thank you, Laurie.
Thank you. Maria.
Hi. Oh, There we are. Hi, yeah. I was just so aware of kind of the shifting of play, you know, what I was doing throughout all of that, the kind of dance and fight, a little bit of a fight and a tussle between being in this, the being, the thinking I, the me that wants to solve something or sort something out or has some issues going on, and then going into the other place and just feeling, you know, really spacious and kind of really seeing what this being does, you know, what she gets up to and what, you know, what's upsetting her, where she feels it in her body, you know, the tension in my forehead, you know, the tension in my chest, and then coming back to this place, and then but just noticing the draw to come back and solve the problem, you know, and get back into, you know, we need to work this out, and then no, coming back out to the other space and just noticing, you know, just feeling the sensations of what this being's up to without the thought, you know, where it resides in the head, the tension, where it resides in the chest, and just really noticing that kind of in and outness of it, you know, how there's such a draw to get back into the mind and the thinking, and then to come back out, and just how just like everything drops away, you know, the thinking, the doing, the labels, everything drops away, but then the draw comes back again, and it's there. So it's kind of, yeah, just really noticing that dance, particularly this week. I mean, I think when there's less going on, it's easier for me to go into that other space and stay there longer. But as soon as something happens, like this week, something's happened and things have ruffled up a bit, the temptation is to come back and stay in this place, the smaller place, you know, the place where I'm thinking and feeling and reacting, and you know, and it's interesting, isn't it, how when we need to be here the most, the draw here can be the biggest, and then we have to really come back to the practice and the sitting to get the space again. So just really noticing that dance, and thank you for that. That was just wonderful to do. Thank you.
It's really good tracking on your part of what, of the in and out and in and out. It's really, yeah, that's really great. Ed,
I'll try to relate this without judgment, because I want to package it and have some control over it. But 2/3 of the way through that, I felt very ungrounded, very head over heels, or beyond float, just. So I'm very grateful to Nelda and Marie for having a different experience. I think I'd be terrified if everybody in the room was feeling the way I did. And what I see is I've had a day of alarms. I woke and I have this thing, a sailor lip, and it was erupting, and it needs treatment about every 5 or 10 minutes. So I'm attending remotely, and that's, thank you for the capability. Midway through your instruction, an alarm went off in my house, and it turned out it was a gas leak. And so I put on my little "I'm not here" picture and ran up and tracked it down to a broken pipe in the attic spewing, and
oh my gosh.
decided that, you know, I'm a good alarm responder, but not when I'm in float. And so the distance that kind of brought me back, and I found it very, very difficult to bring these two worlds together of my life, which is proficiency and Boy Scout preparation and alarm responder with meditator and lover. And I felt the ends of that stick were way, way far apart as the exercise completed, and I found a hard time surrounding it with awareness. I wanted to control. I wanted to just go back to some form of self-calming, like counting or anything else from our anyway. So it didn't conclude for me. I'm looking forward to a break when I can walk and hug a tree and whatever else it's going to take to get grounded again. But I don't attribute all of that to Locke Kelly's exercise or your artful delivery. I think that the universe just conspired to raise the stakes a bit for me, and I get to see that and know that y'all are wonderful, open, kind, supportive friends. And looking into the Zendo from out here is like looking into myself from where I've been practicing for the last week. So it's nice to have that perspective of both and. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. I'm glad you responded appropriately with the gas leak. Joel.
Ed, I hope that was a once in a lifetime event. I've never had a gas leak in my attic.
Neither have I.
Yeah, I hope, like I say, I hope to never experience it directly, and that's okay. So I want to say that over the last couple of weeks, while ironing, I've watched several episodes of the Netflix series called Change Your Mind, or whatever, by Michael Pollan, who has a book by that title, and it's about psychedelic drugs generally, and about he just says psychedelic was a term that was coined meaning showing the action of the mind, and that and there are people who are investigators who are also meditators and so on, and what just struck me about that is, here we're talking about a mode in which our brain operates, in which we are alert, looking for things to be scared about, looking for things that we have to be responding to right now. And, this just occurred to me when kind of we were experiencing, and then the question came up as part of the meditation. What would it be like if there were no problem to be solved? What would be left? What is left if there is no problem to solve? And I put that together with something that went by rather quickly in the Michael Pollan series, but that I think is important, which is that there's, we have this thing called the default mode network. Pardon me, therapists whom I'm probably messing this up, but that there's a apparatus within our bodies and our brains and our mind and our whole nervous system and everything else that helps keep us separate, alert, scared, ready to act. And that what Michael Pollan says is that the drugs that he's describing can short circuit that or loosen its grip. And that's what this activity that we're doing, which I think is more valuable long term, because it is a choice that we are making, and involves our whole self. It's not just a drug that's taking over for us, but that activity of releasing from the mode that normally has us in its grip, normally has us on edge, is such a valuable thing. And that, on the TV show, people take psilocybin or they take LSD and they say, I realized everything is aware. It's not me that's aware. There's awareness, and it is rising and falling within me, just exactly as you were so beautifully reading and sharing, Laurie. So I just want to say that there's, again, I've been talking about this a lot recently when I've had a chance to give talks, but there's a way in which acknowledging what is in our physiology, the physical basis of our thoughts, and of the structures that determine our thoughts if we don't take a time to reflect on them and see around them, see past them, see through them. Nevertheless, it is, I think it's a valuable addition to what you're doing, Laurie, to acknowledge that and to use that as at least for me, as a tool to add on to what you're sharing so beautifully.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah. Yeah, that's becoming a very, I won't say common, it's becoming much more frequent, those kinds of clinics working with people with depression and anxiety and so forth. And I know of at least two here in Austin at this time. So yeah, it's a thing that people are doing. It's an important thing for a lot of people. Anyone else have something to say? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Just shortly.
Yeah, as long as you want.
And I don't really have like a full understanding of this. I probably never will, but the koan, if a tree falls in the woods and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a noise, came up for me. And I had a similar experience to Maria where I would, be able to go out a little bit and then notice thoughts are coming up, get a little bit frustrated, sit back in just patience and awareness, and then go back out. And so that was part of my experience. But I noticed with that koan that, and I've never done any koan work like this, just kind of randomly came up, but that the question is, if there's no one there to hear it. And I just never thought of that part of it, like no one as in no self, which can be like the greater awareness. So the question is sort of like, if that awareness is there to hear it, does it make a noise? So that's kind of it.
Nice, that's really interesting. That just popped up in your head.
Yeah.
So we've been saying that.
Maria has something.
Okay. Go ahead, Maria.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it's just on the back of what Joel was saying, really, and it was kind of like without the drugs and without everything else, it's kind of like if we look at our own biochemistry, because it's like I can have like a lot of worry one day, and then the next day I can wake up with like this anxious feeling in my chest. And if I don't bring that awareness, do that shift and bring the awareness into those feelings, then thoughts will start to connect with that anxious feeling, and I'll start to find thoughts that resonate with that feeling in my chest. So for me, doing the shifting, I always do it first thing in the morning, and so that I can recognize, there's that feeling. Oh, I'm starting to add those worrying thoughts. I'm worrying about doing what I've got to do today, as somebody that's not so well, or it starts to add all these different thoughts because that resonate. So if we don't do the shift, we end up, I end up caught up in these thoughts that belonged to this feeling belongs to yesterday. It's the echoes, it just the mind wants to pick it up again. So it's kind of shifting helps me to just, there it is. And to stop adding, to not add the thoughts and the monologue, or to recognize what I'm doing, or if we get triggered in the day, it can trigger lots of other thoughts that resonate with that feeling. And we can spin off into all kinds of things that just resonate with that triggered feeling, whether it's jealousy, whether it's worry, whether it's anger, we get triggered. and then all the thoughts start. So doing the shift helps us really see, if we get triggered, it's like go into the shift, shift into that space and just feel that sensation and notice what you're doing. That's, and you can really begin to put a spoke in that wheel that just wants to spin off. Mm-hmm. And so it's not just taking drugs that does it. Our own bodies produce a chemical reaction to every trigger and reaction we have in the day, which is why we need this zazen and this practice and to do this shifting, so that we can really begin to see what, it's really helped me begin to see what it is I do, what triggers me, what that feels like in the body, what different triggers elicit, what different, and then what those different triggers and feelings, what thoughts are connected to that, and other situations that it'll just bring. It can bring up a situation 20 years ago, a memory or something, and then I'm ruminating, so it's kind of really been a good practice for me to really recognize, when I do this, and to catch myself and to really see what this organism Maria gets up to, and all the different connections and thoughts she has, to just go into that space and let it all go without all the, just to actually, because sometimes it's like your brain thinks that you've got to sort it out, and you've got to keep going, and you've got to keep, but to just, and really the practice is just drop. Yeah. But we feel like we have to get to the end of whatever we're doing, but to just drop and fall into that space helps us regain that perspective, of there's no problems. It's what we're doing with it. There's difficult situations, there's things that cause all this, but without going into that space, we're going to get so much more caught up and add so much more suffering. Life gives us enough suffering on its own. We don't need to add everything else to it. So that was just what I wanted to add there. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Yeah, Rosemary.
Oh, yeah, okay. I just wanted to thank Maria for, I do this first thing in the morning. I think it's like a morning prayer. I think that's wonderful. So I just wanted to thank you, Maria, for that idea. Go ahead.
Something that happened to me that I don't think has happened before in this way. Let's see, it was in the awareness part, and seeing awareness on the outside and awareness on the inside, and then there being no difference, and realizing it's all awareness, and then things are just arising in it. I mean, we're all arising in it as these impermanent forms. We're just arising. And it occurred to me that it comes back to something that what was that guy's name that we had here? He's really smart. Anyway, liberating intimacy guy. Anyway, Hershock. Yeah, that's right, Hershock. What I was sensing with all of this, everything being awareness and no problem to solve, then what comes up is pure potentiality. So in any particular moment you have, we spend so much time, certainly myself, worrying about this and worrying about that and trying to take care of this and that. But in actuality, in any particular moment, there's a potentiality of anything, of anything what we can do, instead of the worry, we can come forward as something else. Come forward, like the flowers come forward. They just come forward, in all their beauty. So that's where I went with all this.
Laurie, if I may say, when I had that sensation and still have it, I love that it's still reverberating around me. That doesn't mean it was replaced, as some people think, by bravery or bravado. It just meant that I don't want to minimize it because it's wonderful. it was like taking a veil off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to be clear. It's not like fear was gone and then I was this,
Oh, no.
No, it's lovely.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's like you get to this place where you see. It's, to me, it's the true nature of things, actually. Yeah, Kim.
When is all are one, when you realize this, what reason for holiness and wisdom? Isn't it all there?
Yeah. Yeah. Shin Ming. Yeah, John.
And I've never before resonated. So before this week, I had never resonated with the analogies of mirrors used in Zen teaching. The Sutra of Huineng, the where can dust alight kind of thinking, all of the the polishing a brick to make a mirror, or you just are a mirror of who or what you're exposed to, whether that be the color of the floor, or the smile or frown, or the tears in someone's eyes. I've never actually resonated with that imagery, and something about this practice, it has arisen on its own. That sensation of mirrorness has arisen more on its own. And I was reminded of that happened today when you just volunteered what you had said about how there's always, every moment is arising and falling away faster than we can process it. And then there's another one that's right behind it, and how spacious that is, and how with this practice, that this awareness thing that I will call I become aware of, just like it's the arising mirror, just kind of constantly. But there's no clash, of course. It's that even the light bouncing off the mirror analogy breaks down really quickly, but it's an instantaneous reflection of that. And even reflection is two, it's more not two than reflection is.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. That's all I have to say for right now. Good afternoon. Okay. So Kim wanted me to put him back together again, or something, bring you back, or something he said yesterday. And I don't know what'll happen. We'll just have to wait and see. So what I'd like to
Linda
do.
will be very upset if you don't.
I bet. Okay, so yeah, so I want to kind of go back to the beginning again and see what we've done and why we've done it and why it might be important. Yeah, that's basically it. So this week has been, this week has been a journey, right? And I named the journey Embodying the Inconceivable. So we're just going to look and see if we've really done that. So we started out by characterizing the mind, or saying the characteristics of the mind are that because the mind comes through our own eyes, there's no distinct, there's this, it's all, because those two things are connected. The mind tends to say what is reality to us. It creates separations between things, between us and everything else. I think I've mentioned that a couple of times. And the mind also makes these distinctions about things. This is good, this is bad, this is hot, this is cold, and it's usually in a dual sort of way. Not this, this and not this. And it also makes judgments. There's so many opinions flowing through the mind all the time. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's very useful in many ways, just in carrying out chores when we have to analyze data or pay attention. It's very good for doing tasks. But we're talking about the inconceivable, and the mind just doesn't know what to do with that. It can't really do it. There are no concepts for the inconceivable. It's too, because the minute we start defining things and creating concepts, we've just limited it necessarily. It's got boundaries around it. And the inconceivable, by definition, is something that you can't really define. You can't imagine. So the way we've tried to go around that is to not use the mind in these exercises, but rather to tap into the body, to the intuitive intelligence of the body, and into its knowing. And it knows in a different way than the mind knows. And so the way we did that is we began to say, okay, we have awareness, we know we have awareness, and we're going to separate that awareness from our mind so we don't get channeled into separation and judgment and all that other. And so we said, okay, we're going to put awareness somewhere else. And we call it local awareness, and we've put it in a whole bunch of places this week. And we started by putting it into the senses. And more specifically, we were looking at each sense and then putting our awareness in, say, sight. And then we were looking at things from awareness as opposed to the mind. So we were looking at it in the figurative way. We were looking at, when we looked at the hand, for example, we were looking at it with not just looking at it, but we were looking at it from afar and kind of gazing at it in a soft gaze. And we had dropped our awareness down below the neck so the mind wouldn't come up. And we looked at it, and then we dropped it away. And then people had different responses to that. They said, well, it seemed like the hand was still there, but then it was space. There was space there. And so that was kind of an interesting experiment. Our awareness was perceiving, saying, well, gee whiz, if the hand isn't there, but the space is still there. Then we went on to sound. Oh, and also in sight, we compared looking at someone's face and seeing it in ordinary mind, and then shifting and looking at it. And we noticed there was a difference in what we saw. So perhaps the first time we didn't really look that closely, or actually I think we just saw different things. All of a sudden joy came up, or tenderness came up. This is a whole different thing than you would expect from looking at something. Anyway, then we went to sound, and we were listening to the bell, and we were watching it through awareness. We slipped into awareness again, and then we took our awareness to just the sound, not to the hearer or to the object from which it was coming. The sound was coming. And we listened, and we put our awareness into the sound, and then we put our awareness in the space around the sound. And then we found that within the sound, there was awareness itself. And we also went further with that and said that the awareness has awareness. I don't think the mind could ever come up with that stuff. So then we went on to smell, and we did the same thing. We smelled our respective things, oranges and so forth. And we did the same thing. We put our awareness into smelling, and appreciated that sometimes the smell wasn't constant. And then we found the space around the smell. We put our awareness there. And then, again, we realized there was awareness in the space around the smell. And that the awareness had awareness, was aware, is aware. And we did the same thing with touch. Then we decided, we all did it. We looked at the belly. We dropped into the belly instead of being kind of out into the various senses. We dropped into the belly. It's kind of the heart of a lot of our emotional stuff is in the belly, not for everyone, but for a lot of people. And found that there were certain, I can't speak for everyone, but presumably there was sensation there that could be perceived within the gut. And that on perceiving it, we could put our awareness on those sensations and then further find space around the sensations. And again, place our awareness in the awareness. And again, finding that there was awareness there, and that the awareness was aware of itself. And then the last exercise we did, we didn't use sound or the belly, we just shifted out. And we started just to be with ordinary mind and what it notices. So it's very good at noticing physical and mental activity, sensations. And so we hung out there for a little bit just to look at it, to be with it. And then we moved to what I'll call this the subtle body. And that's where we not only had the body, we had sensation from the body, but we also had a certain amount of self-awareness come in. So that came online. And that's still, I have a chart that I'll have Maria share with you, or I guess Maria share with you in a little bit. It shows these different levels and the descriptions of them. So from there, we went to so there we went into awareness, we went into space and into awareness. And we got to this really spacious awareness, awake awareness. Which we had experienced earlier through the senses. And that's where we could really feel the space again, and the awareness of the space. And we stayed there for a good time. And then we moved on further to what there's a label for it, simultaneous mind. And that was the next step, where we have awareness of the awareness. And then the last step was actually going into open-hearted awareness, where we actually dropped into the heart. And that is generally characterized by bringing online compassion, love. So these are all different capacities that we humans have, places that we can go. And we can go there at any point in any time. But why is all this shifting important? As Kim asked a day or so ago. So what? We can move our awareness all around. So what? So I want to switch for a minute and just talk about the context in which we live today. Our life in the world right now. And I think we can say, just like the Buddha said, that life is full of suffering. That's not all there is, but there's an awful lot of suffering going on right now. So I'll name a few. There's our own personal suffering, everyone's personal suffering. And then on a little bit larger scale, we have suffering right here in our own city, with issues of housing and privilege and race issues and lots of stuff. Then we have issues on the state level, just increase it, more people involved. We have issues with guns being so readily available, a lot of gun violence. We also have the pandemic. We have environmental degradation and climate change, and the pursuant fires and floods that are getting increasingly more severe, drought, and consequent hunger, migration, mass migration on levels pretty much unknown, I think, before. Yeah, murder on the streets, corrupt politicians who refuse to stand up because they might lose their re-elections. And then our political issues of democracy being on the edge. And then the standard old age, sickness, and death that the Buddha talks about. So I'm not meaning to depress everyone, just stating the situation that we have and why it might be important, this shifting might be important. So we might ask ourselves, because there's so much going on, what can we do? What's our job? And I would say as bodhisattvas, as I mentioned before, we have vowed to liberate others, to liberate ourselves. And so what does that look like? Part of it, and part of the task, is using wisdom, compassion, care. And how do we do that? When do we do that? And I would suggest we do it all the time, whenever we remember to do it. And the way it might look is just opening our awareness and looking to see what's right in front of us. Somebody needs a helping hand with the door. Just simple things of kindness. Starting there. A big part of it is being aware of our own difficulties, our own stuck places, our own reactions to the things that are going on around us. And I would suggest that shifting during these times, it's not glorious like maybe going into battle. I don't never suggest that, but at any rate, it's not glorious, but it could have glorious repercussions. Just shifting out of our reactivity. Just shifting our awareness enough to see what's really going on around us. Shifting our own perspective. Perhaps we have a very tight hold on our opinions about other people, the way things are done. Being with that, meeting it. And part of that, I think, when we meet and work with our fears and our own anger and our delusion, our own hatred, when we can clear this stuff by holding it in open awareness and meeting it and being kind with it. And in so doing, we're clearing our karma. It's a way of clearing karma, which reduces our own suffering and the suffering that we may cause others because of our own views and behavior. So, my conclusion on that is that this is very helpful. It's something that I believe wholeheartedly about. And I'll restate what I said the other day. This has been a lot of fun for me teaching this, and it's been a lot of fun seeing people shifting and the things that they're opening to. It's very gratifying to me. But it goes beyond that because of the implication of suffering being relieved. Perhaps what may seem on a small scale, but it's significant because we all have so much impact on others. We can't help it, just being around others. So it's a good place to start. Yeah. And Kim was asking me something earlier, and I'm glad he brought it up. He was talking about trauma in terms of this practice and trauma. And my experience with that is it's very effective for trauma, for reaching the trauma and meeting the trauma. And sometimes I think it's not possible for a person to do it alone because trauma can be a really fearful place. And so you need someone else that holds the space. But I do think that it's a useful thing to use in that occasion as well. So that's my plug for shifting. Yeah. So are there any questions?
Oh, Kim has a comment. Oh, wait, Monica's.
Monica.
I can't mute. Okay, there. Yeah, thank you, Laurie. Just that last comment you talked about for the trauma, when you first were talking about it, immediately I was thinking, well, how would you tell the difference between that and dissociation, which happens commonly with trauma? But of course, then you went on to say this is something that you would do with a professional or a therapist or somebody if you were dealing with real trauma. So anyway, I think that, that's fascinating way to think about using this.
Yeah.
And so thanks for adding that at the end.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'd like to say something.
Yes.
So I was thinking about our line and our 4 practice principles, caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering. And part of our delusion, I think, is that we think that the ordinary mind sees things as they are.
Yeah.
But they're caught in the self-centered dream, and the dream it's a dream, this ordinary mind.
Mm-hmm.
So we really get more to the way things are from this place. It's not like leaving it behind. It's not fantasy stuff.
Yeah, it's
It's getting to the nitty-gritty.
Absolutely. And it has more of an objective view because it's outside.
Yes.
You can't really do anything from the inside because you're in it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you for that comment. Anyone else? Oh, Trouty.
Oh. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So there was a question.
Oh, I didn't hear the question.
What is the sequence? Can you hear me?
Yes, sequence of
This performance.
of the shift. Well, it's kind of what we've been doing all week. So we'll do it right now. How about it?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So can never get enough of practice. All right. So we sit, get comfortable. And then get just not without looking, just take a soft gaze, looking forward but not looking. And then I always start with my hands. So we start here with the ordinary mind, which is kind of a limited view. This is the enacting of a limited view. And then we just start opening out, and we notice what happens when we immediately take our hands away from our face. And so anybody can say what they feel, or I can just direct it. I feel less claustrophobic. Does anybody else have a word?
Free?
Free, okay, freer. Great. So then we just continue out a little bit more, and then we notice what that feels like. We're just increasing our awareness of more space, actually. The awareness is so much greater than what's there between our hands, right? So we're just increasing not our awareness of awareness. So we go out a little bit further. And what do you notice here? Somebody.
I notice a relaxing in my head. The muscles in my head just start to relax and feel more spacious.
Wonderful, great. Anyone else?
And you can unmute yourselves at any point if you want to make a comment.
So we'll go a little bit more. Yeah, that's good. How does this feel?
My breathing's slowing down.
And for you, what does that mean?
It means that kind of my thoughts are slowing. I'm feeling more relaxed and just settling.
Wonderful. Okay. So that's where we want to be, is more settled. Why? Because we can just be aware. We're not encumbered. Okay. Then we go out one more bump just because. Okay. And how does that feel?
More flexible.
Okay, great, more flexible. Terrific. So if you're going to be talking to someone that you have some difficulty with, would you rather be in your ordinary mind, which is kind of closed in and less free, less settled, or would you rather be out here? I would suggest that being out with being more aware, that you could have a conversation that might be a little easier. You already have a bigger container. So whatever happens, you're going to take it easier because there's more space. When you've increased your awareness, you have more space around whatever it is that's coming up in the field. Does that make sense?
Joe wants to say something.
Joel.
I'm sorry about all the racket. I'll just say it quickly, that also in that kind of situation, you are giving a gift of freedom to yourself and to the other person that you are interacting with. You're not keeping them locked into what you think you know beforehand.
Excellent comment. Yeah, that's a great comment. And because whatever we're putting out, another person is going to feel it, negative or positive. So that's a really important part. So what this is about is coming from a place. Where are we coming from? Are we coming from our little self? This is not little self. This is much broader awareness. This is a bigger container. This is coming from a place of peace, no fear, no craving. And when you come, it's like you don't have an arm on you, a gun or a sword or something, and the people can feel it. Others can feel it. So it's a good place to start having interactions with other people. I mean, everybody. whether they're close people or people that are more difficult. So Trouty.
Yes.
So where are you coming from right now?
I'm in a spaciousness. And in some respect, I probably have been 40% in spaciousness throughout the week. And
Good.
it made, pardon me?
Great, go ahead.
Well, it made a great deal of difference because I am supposed to make some big decisions. And of course, it worried me, and I grew little and little and little. So this was very, very helpful. I did have some experiences of spaciousness and the larger awareness some time ago, but I didn't really know how to reenact it.
Mm-hmm.
It was in special places, in monasteries and so. So, but they did not teach us the steps like you kindly did.
Thank you, Trouty.
Thank you.
Yeah, Carolyn.
So this is really reminding me of the Bahia Sutta, and I wonder if it isn't just like that teaching, you know, where the Buddha said, you should practice so that in the seen is only the seen, and in the heard is only the heard, in the cognized is only the cognized. And when you practice that way, there is no you there. There's no you there, here, or anywhere. And, you know, Bahia heard this and he was enlightened. And it just seems like that return to the direct sensory perception as it is always this kind of resource for us to shift out of the story of the I and me and all of that.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know, it seems very ancient, although it's kind of got this new terminology of shifting.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. And this actually comes from Mahamudra. That's where it comes up, which is another branch of, I guess it's another branch of Tibetan Buddhism. There's probably been some variation, but Locke Kelly's teachers were Tibetan, and this is part of their teachings. But they're non-dual teachings. So, any other questions or comments? No. Okay. All right, then. I guess we'll go into Kenyan.
I do have a question, but
Good.
it's not here yet.
Okay.
It has to do with, well, allow me to wander there.
Okay.
It has to do with something that we've been dancing around all week, the idea of, I'll go take it back to the driving question, just the integration of this into day-to-day life. And of course, the like fully shifted, like total thought stopping stages of awareness, like that's not a place that you can reasonably operate from or meet someone. But I feel like there's a step, like I feel like I'm missing the shift that shifts into like, oh, there you are, you know, kind of the
I think probably the one that you're talking about is open-hearted awareness. And that's the one where you're not just you don't want to be totally in formlessness. And totally informed is not what you want either. You want a mix of them. And so open-hearted awareness will carry both of those. In that sheet that I gave you, I have a sheet we can kind of look at, and they describe the different ones. Maybe you could put it up, Maria, since we're kind of talking about this.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the thing about awake awareness, we talk about awake awareness, and usually awake awareness is where you're really blasted out. You know, like you see eternity and, you know, you can't really talk, you can't do anything because you're so far in the formless. So it's not real useful. I mean, you can't really relate to people from there. So there are these other expressions of awake awareness in which these other things, the spacious awareness has both relativity and the relative world as well as the absolute. But the open-hearted awareness is the one where, you know, you're coming from the heart, so that you have, you know, the love and compassion in there, as well as you're not coming from the ego identification. So I don't want to say that I don't want to make one more precious than the other necessarily, but that one is the one that probably for relating with other people would be the.
Well, I'm certain that I couldn't. So I think that I've stumbled across that a few times over the course of the week. And I don't think I could have gotten there without being in touch with the other ones, whether or not I'm actively, you know, the last 30 minutes have shifted that way.
Yeah.
But I need like a very palpable, close experience with it to get there. So I guess my question is, the engineer in me wants a reliable, you know, knob I can turn and, you know, a switch I can flip. But I guess I kind of answered that question, is to stay near to the less, I don't know, like I guess with time and with practice as things do.
Yeah, I think, yeah. And I think that situations, things morph, you know, they morph from one thing to another, and that things come up as they should come up for the situation.
And if I don't wander too far for weeks and weeks without having shifted once, you know, remembering that, I guess.
Yeah, you don't have to know, do this first, do that, except for all you need to know is how to get to the original shift. And then if you're in a situation and you're relating, then it's going to kind of move. It's a field that occurs between you and another person. And so you're relating in a certain way. But certainly this spacious awareness is where, well, anyway, I wasn't even going to bring up these different categories because I don't like people, you know, you can get really stuck on, say, well, what is this really? And I want to do this, and then start having, you know, grasping about it and stuff. So I just put it in here just because I think it's interesting information to kind of understand how he talks about what each thing is. Because I've been using I've been using awake awareness and using spacious awareness. I didn't really say what they were because I didn't want to get into all the fine parts of things. But I think it can be useful as long as you kind of take it all as, you know, just play with it.
So there's no switch, just play with it.
Just play.
Keep coming back.
Keep coming back. That's
Yeah.
right.
Rosemary has a question.
Oh, Rosemary.
Okay, yeah, so this morning when I was sitting, awareness was very free and kind of this little thing flying around the sky. It was just very moving further and further out. And what I then realized is that it was aware of me and would come back, would be sensitive to where I needed it to be. So I'm thinking with John, maybe we can trust that as we do some of this, I was going to say spacing out, that's not, but branching out further, that it will bring us possibly to the point that's appropriate for the situation.
I agree with that. There's a lot of this. It comes up in meditation too. Ultimately, you come to a place of trust, but you have to do it. Most people don't just give their trust over to anything, right? Before they have gotten some experience, and this is no different. The trust. It's taken me about 7 years before I wanted to teach this. So my trust levels, I really have to check it out. So I think it just, just play with it. And I think we can say that there is a field of benefaction here amongst us. What I mean by that is that with this kind of thing, you can trust, but you need to play with it so you can build your own trust.
Can I just say something, Laurie?
Absolutely.
I've been playing with this for a while too, and I think the biggest thing I have somebody in my life that I find very difficult and triggers me a lot. I get really triggered. I find I'm triggered around this person a lot. Laurie probably knows who I mean. And what I've found with this exercise is that when I get triggered, it's almost it's become a habit to go into shift when I'm with this person. It's just automatic. It's like I'm triggered and then it's the shift. And then I can instead of reacting from this place where I'm hurting or I'm feeling a bit bruised, I go into this place and I can just be with it. I can just be with that part of me that's bruised and feeling the reaction. And it's made me really aware around this person of what happens to me in that when I get into the spaciousness, I can just really be with it. And what it's also helped me do is see the other person more fully, like understanding that person and where they're coming from and what it's about for them, instead of being in the ordinary mind and caught up in this place where it's just my reaction, my hurt, and that's all I'm kind of feeling. When I shift into the other space, I can really see everything. I can see that person and me, and not react in a way that, well, I was kind of reacting internally, if you like, just kind of hurting. But now I can just kind of open that up and give it space, and it softens and it just dissolves. It's like it loses its energy, because whatever that trigger is, it has thoughts and conditioning and past and memories connected to it whenever I'm triggered. So when I go into this place, it helps all that to dissolve, and I'm just left with the sensation, which then passes quicker, rather than being stuck with it all day with all the thoughts and not realizing why I'm feeling, upset and flustered and, and a bit confused about why I feel like that. It's kind of this shifting into the spaciousness helps me see it, understand it, catch it, and let it go a lot quicker. Obviously I don't succeed all the time, I'm human and it's life, and we get caught up, but it helps me to catch it more often and to let go of it quicker, and for it not to blight my whole day like it might have done in the past. So that's kind of my kind of playing with it with a person, with triggers, if you like. I find it very useful. If you know you're going to come into a situation with a person that's going to be triggering, usually family members, isn't it? You know, they're very good at triggering us. To kind of just be aware that you have this space to shift into. But there's an option, there's another option.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, Maria. That's really, really helpful explanation. There we go. Yeah. So, okay, if there's not anything else. I'll just give one example for myself. I've used this a lot and just dealing with, dealing with issues around my mom. It's really helped my perspective because I can step back out of it because it was so enmeshed. And it's made a really big difference, really changed things a lot over the last couple of years, despite the fact that she got meaner during that time. So it's very, very helpful. Very helpful. So
Yeah, it helps us to see everything that we do, doesn't it? It's rather than just being caught up and hurt and that person's obviously horrible. They're doing, you know, they're triggering us. So obviously it's them. Obviously there's nothing I can do about it. It's just this person. Doing this shift and sitting and the practice really helps us to see our part in it. You know, how the reactions and responses that we can do something about it. It's our stuff, and it really helps us to have enough space to begin to unpick that and see that clearly, more clearly.
yeah, to see just what our role is in the whole thing. What expectations are behind what are we expecting from other people? What are we assuming? And so often it's just way off base. Yeah, ideas. Okay, I think that we can close it down. Is it time to sit some more?
Well, we have
So we've reached the end. Can you believe it? So this is the opportunity for at least me to say my appreciation to all of you that have come and spent the whole week with me. I really do appreciate that. And I also want to thank all the people that helped with this thing. I don't know what I would have done without them. And Kim, of course, who was working on the tech, and so was Dan. And then we have John doing monitor, and also Kim, and then also Ed Pierce, who was doing monitor as well. So,
Maria and Rosemary.
And don't forget Maria and Rosemary, who did so much on there, man. It's just, even with the schedule problems, Maria pulled us through once again. So anyway, I really appreciate everyone's contribution, and I really appreciate also the people speaking up and contributed to what we talked about. So that was really important, and I'm really grateful for that. So I think that's about all I have to say.
Thank you.
And the new book is coming up.
Yeah. Laurie, I want to thank you for all the time and for preparation and for your knowledge and sharing this with us, because it seems like a tricky subject to teach. I think you did just a fantastic job. I mean, I can speak for myself, made it very accessible. And thank you for being here for this whole week and everybody that supported you. But really a fantastic and really different kind of retreat than I've ever been in before because of the subject matter. The experiential part of it was fabulous, and thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Really, really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Monica.
Learned. Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I can second that. It's just been absolutely wonderful. I mean, I know it was supposed to be a double venture as well, and then because of illness, it turned into a single venture, you know, as regarding the teaching. So it's just a massive, massive thank you for. I mean, I've learned so much, and I've shifted, and it's just been such a wonderful experience, so rich and so nourishing, and the way you teach is just so connecting and what's the word, accessible. It's like, you know, really just you teach in such a way that it just goes in so smoothly, and it's just so wonderful. So thank you so much, Laurie.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria.
And Joel, I think Joel would like to say something. He's got his hand up.
I would. I'm sorry. I'm in a place where all of a sudden there's a reflection from a car window going directly into my face. I want to say thank you to Laurie for beautiful teaching, and her presence and the way she presented the teaching was so conducive, just as Maria said, made it so accessible and in something that is not simple. It's really advanced kind of a practice, I think. But I also want to thank Nelda and Leslie and Maria and everybody I got to talk to and share experiences with. That was a key element for me. The sharing and the honesty and the deep inquiry that people were making over and over again was so important to me. Thank you.
Lynn has a hand up.
Yes, I wanted to thank you also, Laurie, for your deep presence throughout the week. It was just amazing. And at one point you said, when we shift into this awareness, this spatial awareness, there is the potentiality of anything. And I wrote that down because I had never heard the word potentiality before, or I'm sure it exists, but I just have never heard it. And I was just blown away by it. Potentiality of anything. So I thank you. I thank you for that hope. And I also wanted to thank everybody in the Zendo at Appamada for your presence this week. It's just been amazing. The Kinhins were right on. It was, it's like you were holding up the fort. It was absolutely beautiful. And for everybody whose faces are here, like mine, we held it up as well. And all the people who helped Kim, your presence is always so well done and beautiful, bell ringing, John and Kim. And whoever else helped, if I'm leaving anybody else out, I don't mean to, but obviously the monitors in the room, and also Maria, Rosemarie and Maria. And I also wanted to thank Maria for her wonderful webpage, or Linktree, I guess it's called Linktree. She is the Linktree queen. Absolutely amazing what she did with that. And she kept adding to it and changing it, and it was just beautiful. So thank you all. It's been a wonderful week.
Thank you, Lynn.
We have Ed who'd like to say something.
Thanks, Maria. And thank you for your weaving together of the electronics of our beings. Really done.
Very welcome.
I want to just acknowledge a person that's not on the screen that stole my heart this week, and that's Jay. Her ability to laugh and to feel and to exchange that across the electrosphere was magnificent for me. I felt so warmed by her presence in this meeting, and I hope she'll see this in the recording as my thank you. To the folks in the room, I've done many silent retreats, and there's nothing quite as intimate as sitting in silence with your eyes closed with other friends to feel close kinship. And so being in the Zendo was so much different than anything I've done with Appamada before, which is electronic and at a safe distance where my mute and my blanking screen can hide me. When the knee screams out in pain and my neighbor doesn't laugh at me, it's a special community in person. And I'm grateful for John and for Daniel, certainly for Laurie and Kim. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to add on to what you said about Jay, Ed. She stole the line of the whole intensive for me when she said, I don't know if I'm shifting, but I can't stop doing it.
I think you get our collective permission to write that into the link tree.
Yeah.
That's quote of the week. All righty then. I think we're done.
Well, except for the cleanup.
Well, yeah,
So everyone has to clean up their space now.
that's right.
One of the advantages of being on the but they do encourage you to clean up the space around you that you've been sitting in during the retreat, don't they? To partake in some form of clearing up mindfully afterwards, just to settle you back in and, you know, into life again, into the away from the intensive.
That's right. And be careful. Careful entering back into the world out there. Be kind to them. Or they haven't been in retreat, so.
Don't make any big decisions.
And don't make any big decisions. That's probably a good one.
It's the 12-step meeting? What's going on? Keep coming back and making big decisions.
It works. Yeah. All right. Thank you all. See you soon.
I thank you all so much.